former C-series. But also as now the presence of Airbus in Canada has taken a different size and different shape. They also have a role of coordination. I don't have an operational role on the rest of the activity. I spend a lot more on the coordination and see how we can leverage our presence and do things together. So that's why we have to put this little movie together. We learned, a lot of people in Airbus learned that we have been in Canada since 35 years. Nobody knew really what within Airbus that and so on. So just a few words maybe to launch the discussion and after let Martin talk. So first it's been now 18 months, close to 18 months that we started the partnership between Airbus, Bombardier and Quebec. So a lot of things have happened and I'm extremely happy and proud to be here today and to celebrate that the landmark of the 100th commercial aircraft being produced that will go to Baltic. And those two guys, I said that I think at the Paris Air Show, those are two guys who somehow convinced me to take the job. I'm not sure whether I should thank them or not, I'm just wondering still, but Rob, because I think he developed a great aircraft and he's a great guy. And, a lot of fun to work with, even if we are through a lot of time together. And the team has been complemented with a lot of very also good people coming from Europe. I mean, we met Florent, I think, earlier. Who's also a fantastic guy. So I'm extremely lucky to have I would say the best team that exists in Airbus, I would say. And then the other guy who's guilty is Martin, because he speaks so highly of the product that I thought that you know, cannot go wrong if the customer is so happy and vocal about the product and giving the trust to the program. I think it's definitely worth jumping into that adventure. And so far, no, I'm not disappointed at all. Since we got there, the first thing was to make sure that we would continue delivering aircraft and not completely stop that stall is the ramp-up, because you know we have a very steep ramp-up in front of us. So we are on track to deliver about 45 aircraft this year. Delivered 33 last year, so 20 under the Airbus regime and 13 under the Bombardier regime. 17 the year before, so it's really a steep ramp-up. We also started the production in Mobile. We know that we will deliver our US customers from Mobile. And it started pretty much on time and on cost. So a lot of effort has gone there. And we plan to pretty much triple our productions by the mid of next decade. So very steep ramp-up in front of us. On the commercial front, since the partnership, there's about 300 order and commitments which have been taken with some very key customers, ALC, NAC, very important lessors to have endorsing the program, Air France obviously, but other customers. So I think the commercial activity has been very promising, even if they tend to be really centered around the air show, but have them a bit more spread around. And again, the trust of existing customers, because customers have been reordering. So commercially, I think we're on a good track. Industrially, we are on a good track as well. A lot of challenges of producing, and that's part of the fun. We also have another key topic and key priority for us is to reduce costs. As you know, and we have started. We're working hard on it. It's a long journey. It's a never-ending journey. So we're also here making progress there. And improving the customer satisfaction. So I think we have a great team, very engaged, and that's what I'd like to celebrate today later at the event. We have shareholders who are very supportive as well. We were just at our board meeting yesterday. They're very engaged as well, and we have a lot of scrutiny from the top of both Airbus and Bombardier. So a lot of engagement on that side. So we have everything we need. Great aircraft designed by Mr. here. And so we have everything now to work and satisfy our fantastic customers. We try to make them happy and profitable and even more profitable and growing. So this is for me after a year and a half of presence in sunny Canada. Martin?
Yep. Words. Thank you for the nice words. Yeah, for us it's a much longer journey because we decided to take this aircraft in 2012. The selection process was between Airbus A319neo and 737-700 MAX at the time, and we took it because it was the best economic selection. And my chairman, who is with me here today, they were following that process at the time, and we took a business-based decision because that was the best aircraft. None of them did fly. None of them was not even produced that you could touch it. But we did it. We took that aircraft. We ordered 10 plus 10 options, and we thought that this is going to be our future. Then in 2016, we took the aircraft. A lot of sweat between 12 and 16 with Rob. We got very close. I was spending more time in Mirabel in these 4 years than in Riga. But the aircraft then was delivered to us. And what happened then, and this is why we're here now, the aircraft overperformed its expectations. We had a paper saying what it would deliver, and it delivered much more. And the biggest impact today, and we're flying it for 3 years, and this is the 100th. We take the 21st aircraft, our 21st aircraft, which means we have not only exercised all options, we have also placed an order for another up to 60 aircraft for the future. And this aircraft, when it started flying in our operation, had a passenger feedback which no airline has seen before. And still today, the proactive feedback every day on Twitter, on social media, people are writing what an experience it is to fly on that aircraft. And this experience made us decide we go and change our strategy to go for a homogeneous fleet of only Airbus A220s. And then we went one step further in the process and said it will be only A220s 300s. And that is the success story of Air Baltic, because that aircraft has, from the beginning, exceeded the expectations. The performance guarantees which were given, what the aircraft would deliver, mainly on the fuel flow and with that on the CO2 emissions. And if we look in Europe at the discussion about sustainability and CO2, there is no better aircraft you can have in that category than that aircraft there, because in 2012 there was no discussion about it, and in 2016 that was not a discussion, but it is now. So with each aircraft we take delivery, we're making it greener, yeah? And you will see today how we make it greener, because this aircraft we can use in our communication to our passengers and to the aviation world of saying we are really doing something. It's a big step, replacing a 737 Classic with that Airbus A220. So we are very happy. We have been very successful since we took the first aircraft. Air Baltic's brand, because of the A220, has significantly improved. Our passengers, we have more than 4 million passengers carried on this aircraft, so we are very mature with the aircraft. And you might have read that Airbus asked us to take the aircraft to the Asia Pacific region recently. So we flew 50,000 kilometers, I think, with the aircraft. Very interesting places. And the aircraft did a perfect job. And we flew so many different guests. I think 1,000 people were on the aircraft, 500 flying. And it was in the media. I was on that demo flight with Alan Joyce, the CEO from Qantas, and I think you two were there. And we were sitting next to each other at when we were descending in, and he was even in the media later on praising the aircraft with several statements. You could tell how happy, and it's an experienced CEO at the other end of the world from our point of view. And he had that same experience, and his team, which our passengers have each time they get on. So, in my position, you would also praise the aircraft. People keep asking me, am I a sales guy? No, I'm not a sales guy. I'm just really convinced that it's the best payroll. No, I'm not on the payroll at all. I don't need to be on the payroll because I'm convinced myself as I fly on the aircraft all the time. And that aircraft is, as they call it, a game changer. It is. They have developed something unique, yeah. And now they're selling something unique, and I'm very, very happy that today we can take another one, and that is the 100th already. And when I saw the 100, it's not a big deal to add another zero, right? So it will come. No, I looked at it, and I know that they are like cost-cutting wise. You just like push this a little bit to the side, and you add 1 zero. That's the next thing coming. And I can see that already, because this aircraft has a future. If you see our operation, wherever we go with this aircraft, I approved a press release today about the aircraft replacing a Boeing at one airport we serve. And the press release reads like, this is for the passengers so that you have the same experience everybody else has who flies on us, because this is what passengers want. This is the aircraft the passenger want. We came yesterday over on Embraer from was it Delta? Which airline was it? Air Canada. Oh, maybe I need to be careful in Canada to talk about this aircraft. But we were sitting, we were entering the aircraft. That's also regional, so-called regional aircraft. And yeah, that's it. You're back. Where does it go, right? Where does your bag go when you are an international traveler? And then, of course, you as an Airbus A220 operator, you're sitting there and you're listening. The noise levels, right? That's different. The feelings when you take off and everything. This aircraft is so different. It's a wide body and a narrow body, and that is what passengers feel. Now, many, many millions have felt it, and for us, each time we get another one, we improve our business and our performance. And if we talk numbers, then the fuel burn savings on this aircraft, even we have in Europe to buy emission certificates. So for each ton of CO2 you buy, you need to buy a certificate. The certificate prices for CO2 are going higher and higher. So this aircraft, having 20% less CO2, saves the moment you operate the aircraft, not only on the fuel, it also saves you on the CO2 emission certificates, because it has 20% less CO2. So, and I could go on and on and on, but maybe there are questions.
I have one right out of the chute. Martin, you are going to be moving to a full A220 fleet. The aircraft has been in service for what, about 3 years? You were the first CS300, A220-300 customer. What has been the thing that passengers have been most impressed with based on the feedback that you've gotten in flying the aircraft, flying on the aircraft?
Entering the aircraft, because you are when you're flying short haul, you're entering a different kind of aircraft, and entering the aircraft. We have the mood light system, and we have this, like most of the time it's in green on, and when you enter the aircraft, the feeling, then of course the windows being very bigger than on other aircraft, up to 50% bigger, more windows, which means much more daylight.
Is this what passengers are saying?
That's what the passengers say, and the next thing they say is the overhead bins. Then they praise the washrooms. Then they praise the aisle. I could go on and on what they say, but overall the experience, if you combine all these things, that's what they say. And we have even a slide and videos about it, where we list all this passenger feedback, because we use it on presentations to say this is why this aircraft is so successful with us. And the worst is we have it on a route, and then we use one of our other aircraft, because we haven't yet transitioned to an all Airbus fleet, and the feedback you get then when the passenger has flown one sector on that aircraft and then he has to fly back on another one, that is feedback you get. Why is this aircraft not flying back? So they demand the aircraft. The passengers are demanding that aircraft.
Perfect. So a question, when do you think you'll transition out of your 737s?
The 737s will leave us end of summer schedule 2020. Yeah, we have 4 still next year. We fly 4 737s, but they will be replaced with Airbuses
so then my
next summer.
Next logical question is, when are you going to put a Canadian flag outside of your offices? Because you're only going to be flying Canadian airplanes.
Yep.
Between the A220 and the Dash 8-400.
And you even have Canadian pilots. You have a Canadian leasing company.
I have a Canadian chairman. Oh, I don't know, but so I have everything for Canada.
Welcome to Canada. So when are you going to open Montreal Riga route?
Yep. And actually our postal, the flight operations, Paul's the one who took the first aircraft, and most of the aircraft, he's also Canadian. So
I have a present for you then.
Should be a citoyen d'honneur in Canada.
For my member of parliament. There you go, you can wear the Canadian flag.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you.
Martin, that's a question. We were talking earlier about the increased range of this airplane.
Oh yeah, I forgot that one. So sorry. That's-
Yeah.
8 hours endurance possibly starting in 2021. And as Rob was saying, and I'm just wondering if you have any ambitions of doing anything heading west over the Atlantic, given your route map, 6 hours and a half to Dubai. If you've got anything going into a low-cost airport like a Bangor, Maine, or St. John's, Newfoundland, connecting with an interline U.S. carrier, is there any opportunity on that front doing transatlantic?
I was yesterday talking to Richard Quest live on CNN, and he was also going on and on about long-haul flying, and I was very strict in saying we don't do it, and I stayed like this. We will be using the aircraft for whatever it can do, and we will use it also on longer routes if there is a business case for us. Currently, with the range extension, if we would choose to do so, from Riga we could go down to Addis Ababa direct or to Delhi in India. If we cross the North Atlantic from Riga, I think we would still be, even with that extended range, on the 300 limited on the passenger number, and therefore any North Atlantic is just from a, as Riga is not in London. London is different. Of course, you can do it from London or maybe from the Netherlands, but Riga is another 2 hours to the east,
Yeah.
so therefore it's just too far.
Yep.
Otherwise, of course, because what we will use the aircraft for is whatever it can do, and it's a 150-seater aircraft, so if I can make a positive business case flying 8 hours with that aircraft, we have a very positive business case on a 6.5-hour sector to Abu Dhabi, of course we will do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But North Atlantic flying, I say no, because that is something which should be done on a different aircraft.
Thank you.
Have you compared passenger experience on long haul and short haul? I would say long haul means
The passenger experience, so we fly, and you will see later, we fly the aircraft in a homogeneous cabin, so we have the same seats for the passengers. The difference is only in business class we keep the middle seat free, so you have a bit more space next to you. But we have no issues at all offering the product on the shortest sectors, which is 35 minutes, and on the 6.5 hours. Actually, we're very good on the 6.5 hour sectors with the product. So the passenger feedback is also on these long flights positive, because there's a big difference if you can go direct or you have to transfer. So the comfort on that aircraft flying very long sectors is very, in our operation, very good.
Could you tell us what your load factor looks like to Dubai, Abu Dhabi?
We're flying it currently only in the winter season, and it is in the high 80s. So this is a very popular route, because Riga is like Canada, very cold in winter. So you're going to Abu Dhabi on a direct flight in Abu Dhabi/Dubai, because a lot of people go to Dubai on that flight. So basically in the peak time of the winter season, we are sold out on that.
Do you have any competition on that route?
No direct competition. No, only there's lots of indirects, but no direct competition.
Martin, been launch customer of Dash 300. We talked earlier today about innovation. Actually, you're participating in the development of the program. So, which expectations you have for future development, and which may be output already taken into account? Maybe for Philippe, a question for you as well.
Yeah, from my side, I have seen 27 years in the industry. I have seen what you can do to an aircraft while it is in service, and then improve it. There will be, and I expect that, without anybody saying anything, they came up and said it can fly an hour longer, which was very nice. So there was no pressure, they just did it. They didn't do anything about it. So I can imagine if they start doing something about the aircraft, there's no need today, but over time they will be improving that aircraft as it is natural in any aircraft program. So we will see, it is such a new technology, we will see a lot of improvements which we don't even know today. On the technology side, all the data the aircraft produces, we will see new things, but also on range and performance, because if you can add within 3 years of the program an hour flight time like this, what can you do if you start optimizing the aircraft and developing? So what we expect is that Airbus, as they do it with all other products, that they continuously improve and then offer to us improved performance or abilities what the aircraft can do. We do not expect, as that question always comes, do you want a 500? Very happy if they do it, a stretched version, but we today don't demand it, because that is still in the way. We would buy it if that helps, because one day, one day we can for sure buy that, but we are not the one pushing for it today.
Philippe, you want to add?
No, I think the answer is, I think we have, first we have, as Martin said, we are still improving the aircraft right now. We are in some range. Now my mission and my goal is really to sell the aircraft we have today, 100 and the 300, to make that a success, to ramp up the in-service reliability, to run down the cost, and then the evolution of the future, or stretch, or whatever you want. The aircraft has potential. It's part of the single-aisle family of Airbus. And it will be obviously taken into account in the current evolution of Airbus. And I have zero doubt that that's the natural way it's going to go.
Martin, you've leased how many aircraft that you have in service right now, all leased?
We have the first 8 aircraft are financed, so they're going to be on our balance sheet after the financing, and the remainder of the aircraft today are on a sale and leaseback. So they're leased. That means today we have 12, and then we intend to also do with the next aircraft coming sale and leaseback, but we take that decision at the time when we have to take it. So we have not taken a decision of future aircraft coming, what we do with it. So we will adjust.
Without being specific with your numbers, how you see the market right now for leasing market for the A220? Was the price as you expected it, or a little higher?
It was, when we started doing the first aircraft, as it was not known to the market, very difficult. We had one lessor who was interested in doing it with us, and that was the driver why we did the financing on the first aircraft. It has completely changed. I can talk about this because when we did not this one, the last time a tender, we were 13 times oversubscribed, and all major lessors in the world are interested in doing this. And of course, if there is competition, it is for us very attractive. So it's a tremendous success. The leasing market wants to have this aircraft, and on the last air show, there was a leasing company, ALC, placing an order. I think NAC also too. So you see that major leasing companies even place orders, and if it is about our aircraft, Air Baltic's aircraft, there's a very strong demand to buy the aircraft from us and lease it back to us.
Okay.
And I think that's where probably, correct me, Martin, I think one of the benefits of the partnership is also to give that credibility that was needed for this aircraft. And I think that's really a push that Airbus is bringing on for the aircraft.
Philippe, I have a question for you. Within the last half a year, Airbus is very active with media on promoting their innovation technologies, starting from Innovation Day, connecting cabin experience, airspace by Airbus, robotized technologies. Which one are you going to implement on A220?
Well, first, there are a lot of that already implemented. The A220, and the A220 is the latest generation aircraft. So we have, have you visited the plant?
Yes.
Yeah, so you've seen that it's already a fairly robotized assembly line. In terms of the capacity of the aircraft to get data from the in-flight data, I mean, the aircraft has been designed for that, to gather a lot of data, more than that we have for 320 or even 350. So I think there's a very strong combination now, thinking about Skywise and what Airbus wants to develop and is developing, to use the capacity of this aircraft to gather data and the algorithm which are being developed by Airbus in the frame of Skywise to analyze that data and help predictive maintenance. I think there's a lot of that we're working on today.
Question, Martin. You mentioned the lower fuel burn compared to the 737-300. Can you give us a percentage, or per ASM, ASK, whatever?
So when we fly the 737-300, which has exactly the same seat number, on exactly the same route, and what we can do the flight plan for both of them, and we have real data now in the last 3 years. We have a range between 19 and 24% fuel burn saving on the London Gatwick sector. Because of the flight profile, you have to descend early going into London. There, the advantage is 24% is the difference if you take same passenger number, same temperatures, it's 24%, while it is on a short sector 19%. But our lowest saving against the 737-300 is 19. The highest is, and the average we're quoting 22%.
Wow.
So, and that is, if you look, it's not only the fuel price. For me, the fuel price is one thing, but the CO2 emission, if you go into Europe, that is a subject when I'm talking publicly and we are talking about what you can do to reduce, then I say the best thing you can do to reduce it, you buy an A220 and replace your existing fleet, because then you cut your emissions by a quarter. And that is a strong statement. It's a quarter, because if I reduce it by 24%, that is a quarter.
Yeah.
Yeah, and more or less. We need to find a room
Yeah,
where we can save
marketing
25%.
people would
and then-
agree. Marketing people would agree. 23%, it's a quarter.
Yeah.
Good run.
And you may have 80 airplanes in the service if all options are exercised by 2024, the end of 2024.
Yeah, end of 2024. Yeah.
Would you be looking at just increasing frequencies on current destinations, or increasing your route map, increasing the number of destinations from the 75 you currently serve out of Riga?
We have a plan, a business plan, which says that we're going to deploy 50 aircraft in the Baltics. Today we operate 40 aircraft. We are replacing 20, because 20 we have, 20 we are replacing, and adding 10 in the Baltics. So not so much, because we are now expanding also in the two neighboring countries. And then that's for us at the moment what we want to do in the Baltics. Then we will step out with aircraft 51 to 80. If we exercise options, then we will be stepping out of the Baltics and offering the same product in the Nordics. We call Nordics everything which is north of a line which you would draw on the map south of Lithuania. Everything you see north, and that goes also into Russia, if it goes on the right to Norway, that is the Nordics, and we say we're going to base aircraft in the Nordics. We don't say today where we do it, but that is our business plan which we want to follow. So 50 aircraft for the Baltics, the future aircraft then, or the 30 aircraft for the Nordics.
You're talking about being based in those geographic regions. They'll be flying from the Nordics to the Middle East, I'm assuming.
They would be flying from the Nordics wherever it makes sense to fly point to point from the Nordics. Important is that Air Baltic's model is a very unique business model for Europe. Nobody else has that kind of model with a full service legacy business class. You have that in the US, you have JetBlue and others, but we have a full service business class rated very high, and then we have an ultra low cost economy cabin. And we're combining on all flights that product, and that is actually our success. We're doing it to and from the Baltics today. We're not doing it outside the Baltics, not basing aircraft outside, but we are serving 80 routes. And that shows us that flying into the Baltics, we can do the same also outside the Baltics. But priority is to fix the Baltics, because there's still room. That's why the first 50 aircraft will be there. If we are as successful as we want to be, we're going to expand in the Nordics. And then the question is 30 aircraft enough? Today we have in this market region 0.2% market share. So you can imagine what potential is there for that kind of aircraft and our concept. So let's see when we come to it, but initially Baltics 50 aircraft.
Are you the only airline in Europe with that bifurcated service?
Yep.
I mean, everyone's complaining the middle class is disappearing, and you're showing that it's true.
No, there's the business class which we have is a middle seat free. And in Europe we have either middle seat free business class. We don't have business class like you have it here, where you have the fluffy white seats. Europe flies middle seat free, or, and that is only a few legacy carriers doing this now. There's no middle seat free even, but they call it business class. Yeah? A lot of the legacy carriers now say it's business class, but then I don't know what it is, but it is not business class as I call it. And then a lot of carriers have business class, and let's say it's a proper one, but then in economy they are not doing ultra low cost economy, they're doing a premium economy, and we do both extremes. We offer the cheapest ticket price, and then you add everything as an ancillary revenue, the seats, the bag, the food, while in the front we have a full service business class with a hot food, with newspapers, alcoholic beverages, dedicated cabin crew, and the middle seat free. This extreme combination works for us very well. in Europe because we're connecting to capitals and business centers. We are not flying to secondary airports, and that's why both works, because there is enough customers for both.
I've lived in Latvia now 25 years, and one of the things, especially since I'm not an aviation expert, I come more from the finance community, then one of the things that people miss is that we are very, very tiny, and I think Martin will hit on that in his speech today. Latvia is only 1.9 million people.
Yep.
A city like Tallinn is 600,000 inhabitants. So this aircraft is this perfect one, narrow body version of long and skinny. Mm-hmm. And this makes a hell of a difference for us because we serve basically all our stuff is either skinny, sometimes short, sometimes long. But that's the key message. So the fit between the aircraft and our marketplace, we're specialists in doing lots
These
with
are
a
niche
little
markets.
market. And I think that's what Martin's been great at getting done.
Excellent.
And I disagree with you that you're not an aviation expert because you signed up that we can sign for this aircraft in 212, so you gain some experience.
Thank you.
Look at this aircraft. One interesting one, I had the pleasure to get to know the CEO of Vanuatu Airlines, furthest place away from Riga. We met in Seoul this year at the IATA conference, and then we ended up showing the aircraft to them in this Asia Pacific tour. And for them, if you look at this aircraft, it's a complete game changer because they can do things they could not do with another aircraft because of the range. Mm-hmm. But then the aircraft is small enough and gives the comfort of what they want to do. So there are regions in the world where that aircraft will really play very, very well. And we are probably one of these regions that's why we are so successful.
Beautiful.
I guess this is an uncomfortable question.
No uncomfortable questions.
I'm glad you said that. Widerøe is doing its thing with the other unmentioned brand. Also,
I can. I have no issues mentioning brands. They cannot. I can because I'm an airline. So.
Okay. So Widerøe seems to be having some success. Now Helvetic is moving into the same re-engined new generation airplane. What do you expect is going to happen? Do you think that you're going to run up against them in any kind of competition, and how do you deal with that?
I think there's always there will always be different aircraft and different airline concepts which will use different aircraft. Everybody has to find his own way, and you see it in the US. You have so many different carriers flying so many different aircraft. We evaluated that aircraft for us as well. Before we decided to place the new order, we did an evaluation whether that is something we could use to add to the A220s, and we came again to a business decision that it wouldn't do what we need to have it done, because that aircraft just does not have the range. That's one thing. It just doesn't have it, and then it doesn't have the passenger experience because of the cabin. These two things for us were criteria which excluded it from being considered, because we did that as a serious. We looked at it, and it's a very good aircraft, I'm sure, and for somebody who wants exactly this, fine. For us, it didn't work. We are happy with this one. If we would have to take the decision today, knowing about other aircraft being in service, we would take the same decision. There hasn't been an aircraft coming up where I say, oh, why didn't we go for this one? We would still take today the same decision.
It's interesting, the mentioning of the two key features, range and the cabin, exactly mimics David Neeleman's comments for Moxie.
So it was helpful that we talked.
But I think the range is very important because, when I joined again from Airbus, it was always considered this is a regional aircraft, but it's not a regional aircraft. It's really a very versatile aircraft. So I think the range is definitely a differentiator, and competition exists everywhere anyway. So it's normal. I don't know whether you have seen me demonstrating on our aircraft. They will see, okay, I show you today what I always show to people, and then it's clear. It speaks for itself. Then the aircraft is very different to what you normally have in this regional market. And that as a passenger, if you once had something good, then you want to have it.
look at the discussion about the passengers on the A380. Airbus is not doing it anymore, and the passengers say, why not? We like it. They complain. Yeah. So the passengers want to have certain things, and the A220 is something the passengers want to have.
What about your flight crew up front, the folks up front who are currently rated on 37s? Is there a bit of a battle to who gets to be selected to fly the 220?
Of course, everybody would like now to go on the most modern jet because the cockpit is the most modern aircraft cockpit. I think the only aircraft cockpit which comes close is the A350. There's no other aircraft which has such a modern cockpit technology. And as a pilot, if you look into the future, you want to have something modern to fly. We have a plan on how we transition our pilots, and it goes according to plan, and they know when they will be getting there. What I say to pilots is, you all will be on that one because we have nothing else in the future. So just keep your feet on the ground.
But right now it's seniority, I'm assuming. That
It's our own internal seniority system. We have 3 different fleets. We have a pilot academy where we train co-pilots, and whenever I speak to them, I say, you guys are going to be captains in 5 years from now on an A220. But you might have to go on a turboprop first or even on the Boeing. But in 5 years from now, you will be a captain on the A220.
Oh dear, the Boeing.
You have a A220 simulator yet, or is it ordered, or is it installed?
It's standing in our simulator center, and am I allowed to talk? We will be having an event next week on the 3rd when this simulator will be going live.
Who made it?
It's the first one, the second simulator in
Yes,
Europe.
yeah.
So as the fleet grows, you're going to need one. Is one going to be enough, or you're going to need a second one?
We'll need a second one when we exercise options, just from the numbers. But it's not a. We have already the simulator center and the space for it, so we can just have a second.
Is this sim would be dedicated to training aerobatic pilots, or it's going to be open like you do with the aerobatic academy?
We need at the moment all capacity of that simulator to train our pilots.
Okay.
You talked about having discussions with other airlines. Have you been getting, dare I say, inundated because of your experience with the A220? Do you have a lot of visits from other airline operators? And what's been the feedback? Again, you joke that you're not getting a commission, but I'm wondering if you should.
No, raise that.
Now the question could be, have you received a visit from an airline that's located in the southwest of the United States?
That's right. That was my question about the airlines that are located.
What in our industry works very well. If you get to know something you shouldn't know, you don't talk about it. And I will keep it this way, but I can confirm that we had many airlines visiting us, not only on the aircraft, on the different air shows, also in our headquarters. And there was a bigger visit last year, yeah, and I got, all I can say I got as a present, because it was a big team, they gave me some cowboy boots, so yeah. But we have had so many airlines visiting us because we were the launch operator of that aircraft, so obviously a lot of airlines are interested. But it's Airbus to discuss with you, is there future customers or not? On the air shows, I think all airlines have looked at that aircraft. So, and there is.
But it's different when they sit down with a colleague, another operator, to find out details specifically about the operation.
But this would happen also on air shows. I think this is not so. I wouldn't take from this that this airline or this airline becomes a customer when they sit with us. Okay. In our industry, like now the A321 XLR. Every week I'm having a discussion about it, because this of course would be a perfect aircraft for Air Baltic's future if we wanted to go long haul one day, which I said we will not do. But this discussion now about the A321 XLR is getting hot. So if everybody who talks about it now would order one, Airbus would only produce A321s XLR. Yeah? So the A220 is very popular now, so all airlines are looking at it.
Yeah, I would say for sure we expect to have additional customers. I think this aircraft has always been considered as a very good aircraft, and Baltic was one of the early adopters. Good for them, has been a bit of a visionary. I think a lot also of airlines were a bit waiting and sitting on the side sidelines to see what's going to happen. And the partnership with Airbus for sure raised the interest of many airlines. But that, again, I would go that far that because they are talking to Swiss or Baltic or whoever, that means they will become a customer. At the end of the day, you need to have a package that makes sense for the operations airline, which makes sense economically, and then you have a chance.
Now, admittedly, having 20 aircraft in the fleet of one type with a route structure that Air Baltic does, I'm sure that's interesting to a number of carriers because of the experience that we've had. What kind of dispatch rate have you had with the aircraft?
I don't know that number from my head, but we have in Air Baltic, I know because I do it weekly, overall we are at 99.6 regularity. So that's our regularity, total fleet, including turboprops. So it's above our target line each week, and that is what we want.
And I heard about one pinch point, and maybe you have a comment about this as well, that there were some concerns about the speed that it took to refuel the aircraft on a quick turnaround. Is that something that is continuing? Has it been resolved?
We had initially with Air Baltic, and actually we resolved it so there was actually the pressure of the fuel system was lower. We designed for a higher pressure, which is pretty much standard in the industry. So once Air Baltic converted, then we actually are within the normal industry standards.
I think we're coming to the end of the time.
Already?
So
There's an event.
maybe a couple, not yet, but I think you guys have some other meetings, or should we say like 5 more minutes? It's okay?
I just asked about the engines. Has that been an issue? You had a grounding very briefly a little while ago, but doesn't appear anything
We
since
had
then.
we had no grounding.
Okay.
We inspected the engine according to the recommendation from the manufacturer, and we fly the aircraft. The engine is heavily debated as it is a new technology, and we fly. And I say that in these discussions, we flew more than 60,000 flights now with that aircraft, with that engine. Yeah, the engine is being modified as it goes along, and it will deliver with the modifications in the future even better performance. It's a development of a new technology, and I said today in an interview earlier that I see that maybe that is the last technology on an engine which consumes fuel, because it is so advanced already, and with future developments will advance further, that maybe the next engines we have are electric. Yeah, and especially Airbus is already doing a lot there. So we should give this engine also the time, like all other new technologies, to develop. And I'm very happy because we get more and more performance improvements with the development coming out.
So no operational interruptions with respect to the engine within Airbus?
We had, if you would call it a disruption, we had to do the engine inspections according to the recommendations, and we took, especially the Asia Pacific tour was a good example. We inspected the engine, took the aircraft for a 21-day trip, 50,000 kilometers to the other end of the world, very successful. So we did have to do the inspections, and we follow the manufacturer's recommendations, which, when the engine has another improvement, will then lift it or will be changed again.
Okay.